The red of our red, white, and blue flag. What is
Blasphemy,
this?
man. I cannot believe.
Who's hating on my Dutch flag? Calling a meeting tomorrow at 2.
All right, guys. Rhett versus ThorZaIN, our first game of the day, and there are so many implications here. If Rhett wins this game, we've already talked about the fact that he'll go on to play against the Muslim. But more than that, if Rhett wins this game, that means Beastie QT is going to have to play against Stefano because of the way that the wild card seedings are all played out. Likewise, if ThorZaIN wins, ThorZaIN actually goes on to play against Puzzle.
Yes, because Red in this case is the highest seed because he just barely missed out on an instant playoff berth, and ThorZaIN just barely got into the wild card. So ThorZaIN is the lowest seed, and Red is the highest seed, and that's why ThorZaIN would face Puzzle, the number 1 seed, and Red would face the number 8 seed, which is the Muslim. And
that would mean that it's actually Beastie that goes to play against the Muslim in that case, if ThorZaIN wins.
Ooh.
So, I mean, so many weird and crazy possibilities. So if you're a Beastie fan, then you might be cheering for a ThorZaIN victory here. If you're a if you're a Stefano fan, you might be cheering for a Red victory here. I mean, there's so many different bizarre possibilities.
No, Ben, this is the first time I can really feel that I'm working for the North American Star League, because this really feels like a North American sports league system. Us Europeans would never come up with this crazy seeding stuff. You know what we do, Ben? We play 34 games and we decide who has the most points and he's our champion. That's how we do it. We don't do this crazy stuff.
Yeah, but you also use meters and kilometers, and that just doesn't make sense, man. Why would you use a simple system when you can use something so complicated? I tried to explain this to Kevin the other day. The reason that we use feet and miles and all that is because Americans are so much smarter than everyone else in the world. The rest of the world just can't comprehend our system. I'm sorry, guys. Listen, I love all of my European brethren who I became so endeared to when I was living in Germany, but it's just a fact. America, greatest country on earth, the smartest, the best, and the brightest.
I really have no idea what we lost more right now. Whether we lost more viewers on this moment or you lost more fans. I'm quite sure.
Twitter followers immediately minus 1,600.
If you're lucky. Anyway, guys, of course, Liquid Red is our Dutch Zerg spawning on the left top side of Ohana. And EG's very own ThorZaIN is our Blue Terran spawning in the right bottom side of this map. Red finished this season with a 6-2 record, Ben. 6 wins, 2 losses, 13 map wins and 6 map losses. ThorZaIN finished the season 4 wins, 4 losses, and an 11-9 record. An interesting fact, both of these guys were in the same group.
They were in the same group. That means they met in the regular season, and very interesting, ThorZaIN won in that meeting. In fact, ThorZaIN's only loss to Zerg all season long was to Lowly. It was an incredible series where Lowly very clearly had some well-prepared builds.
Sorry, Ben, but you're wrong. Because Red won.
What?
Yes. No worries, bro. We all have
That doesn't sound right. I'm going to have to confirm this.
Well, I am 100% sure because I still remember all those games because it was a ridiculous best of 3, guys. First game was played on ThorZaIN Altar where ThorZaIN made 25 Hellions and killed over 50 drones. The second game was played on Belshire Beach where Red had a slow ring run by and just run past ThorZaIN Supply Depot and killed a lot of SCVs and won on Belshire. And the last game was on Shadow Temple, which went into 2-base play from ThorZaIN, and Red won with a Muda base race.
It sounds like you are right, and I was completely wrong. Well, that sucks.
Of course I'm right. That was probably like the silliest best of 3 of the season. Don't you remember it?
I do remember it now that you walked me through the games. So ThorZaIN unbeaten against unbeaten against Zerg. No, wrong again because he still lost to Thor. He still lost a little bit. Man. You know what, Kev? You just solo cast. I'm going to go sit over here with our producer and play with Chance.
But an interesting fact, we see ThorZaIN dropping that really quick additional command center. I know that you are one of those Zergs who has been struggling quite a bit with this style.
The fast 3 base?
Yes. Yeah,
I mean, I think it's a really good style. Although I will say that Zergs and even somebody as mediocre as myself is kind of starting to figure out how to play against it. And I think Red's style is tailor-made for playing against this kind of a build. It's just bigger macro than you would normally take. Take a faster third base, take a faster hive, and get Broodlords out, get Queens out, and get that huge Zerg economy that allows you to power so hard.
But what is Red doing right now, Ben? He has 600 minerals. He's still supply block. Didn't start an Overlord for a very long time. He did send out that drone. I can only assume that he already wanted to drop that hatch, but he didn't do it, and now he's supply blocked for the full 25 seconds, and I would even say it was close to 35 seconds.
Yeah, a little bit of sloppiness here early on from Red, which is a bit surprising. Knowing Yos, being a guy that knows Red, I would say that this being one of the most important games he's played all season is probably also the first game he's played today, and he still hasn't warmed up.
9 more drones on the way. Red does have a ton of queens as we know him. 5 queens right now, 6 queen is on the way, and now he did drop that additional hatch. I'm not sure if he scouted the command center yet. He tried to peek in with the overlords, but he didn't see it yet.
Yeah, it's a pretty good point. But what he does see right outside the back of ThorZaIN's natural is that ThorZaIN's only just now taken his 3rd gas. So unless ThorZaIN's doing something really wild and crazy, this is looking pretty normal. Just macroing up, getting the worker count going, dropping lots of mules, which you can also see with that overlord, and then beginning to transition into that mid game by getting upgrades and adding those gases a little bit later.
We see the Baneling nest going down for Red as well. Red once more bans supply block and still didn't start at Overlord. Red is starting off a little bit sloppy. Look at the amount of money that he has. Stefano would probably drop an additional macro hedge right now, and that's the exact same thing as Red does. Wow.
Yep, and I was actually gonna mention that exact same point. Getting supply blocked and making mistakes like that is sloppy, and it's not good and it's not efficient. But one of the great things about playing Zerg is you can just take that money, put down a hatchery, and now you've got extra production for later on in the game. And macro hatches are so good for so many reasons. One, it gives you more larvae, but 2, it gives you somewhere to put all this excess queen energy. So you're always going to have potential for explosive rounds of unit production.
And Ben, once more, let's talk about that silly series we saw earlier this season between Red and ThorZaIN. We were both pretty stoked about that series because we couldn't wait. We thought this is going to be one of the best series of the season. And both these guys played very, I would almost say careless, which is weird, of course, because they are excellent players and there is a lot of money on the line here in the NASL. But that series was sloppy, and I really don't expect to see the same thing today. Both players know what's on the line. Both players have been at an NASL finals. Red just barely missed out in Season 2, losing in the playoffs back then against TT1, and I know that he wasn't happy with that, so I can only imagine that he did do some homework for this one, and that we're going to see much better games as we saw earlier this season. That's
yeah, I completely agree with that analysis there, Kev. And you mentioned him losing to TT1. Yes. It's so funny because I can remember being at the final and TT1 practicing with Red for his games.
Yes.
But anyway, we just see ThorZaIN poking around with some Hellions. He's trying to use these for map control and to deny the creep spread of Red, but he's not having much success in that in that endeavor.
Yeah, what you just said kind of made me giggle, man. It's like the ultimate good guy Red meme. Loses to a 2-base all-in by a guy, still helps him to win the finals. Good guy, Red.
Yeah, Red is a great guy. I used to practice with Red, and I was nowhere near his level back when I was playing full-time. But he would always take the time to give me 4, 5, 6 games a day.
I had a really fun session once at the very first Homestarter Cup. It's a little Brett Homestarter Cup 5, which is coming up in just 2 weeks. And back then, the Homestarter Cup when there was the very first tournament that Red played for Team Liquid. And both, like most of the guys were chilling because it was like 4 AM, but both Red and me were playing ladder. And back then, Forget was still pretty good, and I think the first game I forgetted him. And then we just kept on searching right after each other. And first game I won, he was pretty mad. But then he won 5 games on a row, and I was starting to get really mad. And like we both didn't speak to each other, and everybody else was just giggling and thinking like, well, these 2 guys are really silly. They're playing ladder like their life depends on it, 4 AM in the night. But yeah, good guy, Red. You can never stay mad at Red.
That's very, very true, man. Red's creep spread has been just impeccable this game. Well past the center mark on the map. ThorZaIN's going to push forward, but just because of this creep, he's going to have to really stall this push. You don't want to push into a Zerg player with Zergling Baneling when you're on creep. It just allows those units to close the gaps so much faster.
I can't blame ThorZaIN for moving out right now, Ben. He kind of knows the style that he's playing against. He knows what is coming, and if he doesn't do anything, the entire map is just going to be dark forever for him. He's going to play in extreme fog of war. He's not going to see anything. So he has to move out, but he also has to be oh so careful, because if Red would have somehow made an additional 30-40 links and just swarm around his army, then ThorZaIN is going to be in trouble as well. Despite the great economy that ThorZaIN had all game long, Red wasn't exactly poor either, who's right now at 87 drones.
He's got a fantastic economy backing up this army right now, and he's going Zergling, Baneling, Muta. We've been talking about how this style is sort of making its resurgence, and Red has always been one of the best Mutalisks players in the foreign scene, maybe in all of Starcraft II. He's getting 2-2 right now. He's already got Mutas out, and he's going to start doing some harass on ThorZaIN, kind of running around the army in the center of the map, and he's going to run right into the supply depot wall. Very nice by ThorZaIN to have this wall in place, but it's not going to stand up long against these Zerglings and Mutas.
Quite a few Banelings in this mix as well, Ben. I guess that Red's going to try to take out as many SCVs as possible. A lot of the SCVs are clumped up. Red is going to do a lot of damage here, but he's also going to end up losing all the links.
Yeah, he'll lose the Zerglings, he'll lose the Banelings, but he's going to kill a ton of SCVs. ThorZaIN's already lost 26 Harvesters, and he doesn't have any turrets at all. He wasn't anticipating this kind of play from Ret in the slightest, and Ret's over here in the main base continuing to do good damage.
Yes, I did see the meters in the main base. Just want to see how much damage the Zerglings would really do. We can see Red still harassing a lot with these meters. ThorZaIN sort of underreacting in the first moment. Not enough Marines there. And let's take a look at units lost, or resources lost so far. It's kind of even, but considering the economic damage that Red has done now and the economy that Red has, I think Red was quite pleased with how it went.
Ooh, and Red has reloaded. He's maxed out once again. Zerglings, Banelings, and Mutas. Oh my! And ThorZaIN, with not that many units out in the center of the map, is going to be forced to fight here. And Red's going to do good damage with this attack, killing a lot of Marines and tanks, and just crushing forward through the center of the map. Tanks are all going to fall, and ThorZaIN is looking absolutely overrun here in game number 1.
Yeah, his supply is just plummeting. Only 111 left right now, despite 3-3 upgrades on the way. He's just not able to stabilize. I'm not even sure all of these depots are not raised, so that means that these Zerglings can just stream into the third base of ThorZaIN, who does still have quite a few Marines, but he's gonna have to split them.
Ooh, good splitting, but does it really matter when there's this many Zerglings and Mutas in your base as well? More worker losses being incurred by ThorZaIN. He's not able to apply any counter pressure to Rhett and all, and Kev, this is just what happens when you let a player like Rhett go straight to 90 drones.
Earlier this season we saw them play on ThorZaIN, man, and that's when ThorZaIN went for that sick amount of Hellions, where he killed 50 drones. Look at this tank, man. This tank is like spinning. I don't know if the tank thinks that he's winning or not, but you're not, man. Stop spinning around.
Man, that was Billy. He thought he was in his new Camaro doing donuts up on the top of the ramp.
Yellow Camaro. Yeah. Billy did not really realize what was happening around him, because the Sorge is coming and
he was like, woo, just got a promotion! And then, of course, the Mutas flew in and put an end to that. Rhett streaming back into the third base of ThorZaIN once again. GG comes out. That was a pounding as Rhett takes game 1 in the most convincing fashion I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, pretty much flawless play by Red. And that brings me back to the point that I was trying to bring up before we saw Billy making donuts on the supply depot. What do you think that ThorZaIN should have done different, Ben? Do you think he should have done something with Hellions like he did back then on ThorZaIN, or do you say, nah, Ohana is just too different, maybe he won't get away with it?
Yeah, I'm not sure, Kev. I feel like ThorZaIN has to do something to apply some counter pressure there to Red. But his opening just didn't really allow for it, right? I mean, you can open like that and make lots and lots of Hellions, but maybe that's the best answer. But when you open up with that 3 command center style, it's what I was kind of saying. Zergs are starting to figure out what to do against it, and Rhett just punished it really hard because he played that big eco ZVT style
that he loves so much. Or maybe something like we saw the Muslim do yesterday against the Red on Antigua, with Cloak Banshees on one side, some Hellion Run-bys on the other side. But yeah, bottom line is you probably do want to do something about it, because even if Zerg supply blocks itself once or twice, if they have those macro hatches, once his drone rotations really start kicking in, doesn't really matter how many orbitals you have.
That's
the Zerg economy is going to be just as good.
That's exactly right. Guys, that's game number 1, ThorZaIN versus Red. Game number 2 is going to be coming up in just a second. Stick around. Lots more playoff wildcard action at the NASL after this.